On behalf of MITAC, the MIT Activities Committee, um, we are thrilled to welcome Blue Harbor Coffee today to talk about the fine art of coffee roasting. And what a great way to spend a caffeinated afternoon. Josh Yazgan is here from Blue Harbor Coffee in Hampton, New Hampshire. He's going to talk about the coffee industry beginning in Istanbul, Turkey, 100
Yes.
years ago, and also in-house coffee roasting and what makes a specialty coffee and the beans and
Hmm.
how all is grown and along with other news along the way, coffee news along the way. So without further ado, I want to first of all thank you, Josh, for being here today and letting
Welcome.
us explore the world of coffee. So if you can take us away, thank you so
Sure.
much.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for giving this opportunity. And I would love to describe briefly myself. Who am I? My name is Coşkun. Last name is Yazgan, and I'm born and raised in Istanbul, Turkey. It's one of the mostly populated city in the world. It's one of them, and it's all about our culture is food, hospitality, and of course, most famously Turkish coffee. So that's very been well known. And my family, my grandfathers started this business with their original name, and they had three locations throughout the downtown Istanbul. And then over 100 years, there are coffee business is still going. So I'm the third generation in the coffee trade, and we're um, we're coffee roasters, and then we roast specialty beans from unique coffee all over the world. And what happens to coffee is our history. Coffee brings people together. What we believe is a family business. So our most importantly, first customer service, and the second a good cup of coffee. And so coming to US, what makes me come over here? So I had a family members already been living in the United States. So I follow their footsteps by coming to Newton, Massachusetts, and I went to school for a couple of years in the LaSalle College in Newton, Massachusetts. And then I improved my English skills, and I improved my learning skills more and more education and to next level. And of course, I worked in my family's coffee shop for almost many years and learned how things go in this country and how different is the culture. So adaptation was a little difficult, but I made it. And so it's pretty unique that the coffee is a tremendous amount of power. We call the coffee as a magical product. Before that, coffee is actually a very unique plant. It actually grows right in the from 1,000 feet elevation to 7,000 feet elevation right by the mountain slopes and the tropical environments. So that creates the coffee is a tropical fruit, believe it or not. So that's the coffee. It comes from the cherry. This is a cherry tray, we call it, right here on the picture. And the coffee has the seasons. Most places coffee produced and harvested right grow taste different than one another just because of their soil, their weather environment, and of course, most importantly, the calculation. How you harvest the coffee is very important as well. So we roast coffee. So what happens here? Coffee grows in the farm with tremendous amount of passion, love, and care. Very important. Coffee has to be loved to understand. So the coffee ships to us, and what happens? The coffee, we determine the coffee. How we determine the coffee? Coffee contains many different elements. So because it's grow right by the mountain slopes, and there are no involved of technology. So coffee being washed through all the water, pulp, and dried in the sun. Everything is natural, especially the we buy coffee, fair traded and natural. So natural coffees can be contain some defects. So which is foreign manners. So those combine, let's say you can find wood chips in the coffee, you can watch stones. So that's why we determine the coffee before we buy them. So we request a sample. So we get the coffee in the house and we make them, we roast them, see the flavors, we watch the density, we watch for the acidity. It's very important what gives the coffee a taste. And of course, coffee contains sugar. So we have to look for the caffeine content and sugar content in the coffee. So those all things are matters in the coffee business, especially when you roast your own coffee. So those has to be done by coffee roaster. So which is I am doing right now, and I'm gonna actually show you. We can roast coffee together at the moment. So let's go. Just a second. I'll be off the headsets for a second. Actually, I'll bring you my computer. So this is my coffee roaster. So the coffee comes from the farm and goes to cup, but has to go through the roaster. So there are many varieties of roaster. Roasting coffee is very important as well, just because of the region matters, environment matters. Very important thing is air. Of course, you need heat. You need some sort of a heat, but most importantly, the airflow is what coffee roasting is, gives a coffee a characterization. So that airflow must meet the right heat. So we're gonna roast today. We're one other species, one other plant, very unique coffee called pea berries, which is coffee is smaller in the diameter, but powerful on the taste and aroma. So the pea berries grow originally from Tanzania and spread it to all over the world after all the continents been discovered. So right here. So we use one of our pea berries from Brazil. See in my hand. So pea berries are very small. So by the way, it's most people is shockingly asking me why coffee is green. Coffee is actually is a seed from a cherry. The cherry being pulped and separated and washed and dried, and it becomes a green, the skin shape seeds. You cannot consume the seed, it's hard to chew. It has to be roasted and being eliminated, which is that, well, you can consume the green coffee as a supplement. Nowadays, everybody does it. And actually, so we're gonna weigh the coffee. So we have a 6-pounder, which 6-pounder means we can only roast 6 pounds per batch. So we're filling our bucket, 6 pounds. And then this is called hopper. So I'll give you a little bit about the roasting diagram. So this is what we call a hopper. So you put a coffee right over the hopper. And then make sure the airflow, this is called crossover bar. And this is called a damper. Damper regulates the heat and air in the right direction. You don't want to, it eliminates the faster airflow. It keeps the air bounce through the damper. So we keep the damper on the right and lever it up and give it a little bit of heat. So now we're heating up our roaster. It's gonna take only, I already heated up before we start the session. So it's been heated up preheat. It's preheated already. And now we're gonna have the temperature right around 400°F. That's the reach out point for the coffee. Coffee contains water, sugar, and of course the what happens that process, just like the other coffee, has tremendous amount of flavor. So we call that caramelization. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna explain everything while we roast coffee together. So while the roaster is warming up, so another thing about the coffee has been founded right around 14th century, and nowadays called the country called Ethiopia. Wonderful, beautiful, mountainous, beautiful country in the world. One of them, in my opinion. And its coffee actually being discovered by an animal. That animal is actually a goat. And the time of coffee being discovered, and the person, his name is called Kaldi. He is the native to the right around the region called Yirgacheffe. And then he was wondering why his goats were jumping every time he took them to the mountain slopes for herd them. And he's been really so anxious about it. And then he started to follow the goats to their feeding ground. And they were picking up those cherries and consuming it. Every time they ate the cherries, they were jumping around and just never been rest. So he told his stories at the village. Of course, everybody got the word out, and after that is unknown. So coffee has been traded after that, many centuries after that, actually. But the coffee is originally coffee is being carried out the country. It's from Ethiopia. So Ethiopia has a through regions grows tremendous amount of coffee production, and they produce one of the unique coffees in the world. Always tasteful, always graded, and always been cared. And people of Ethiopian people love their product, and they love it, and they make it unique washing process with one of the oldest washing process in the world. And now our coffee has been, our roaster has been preheated. So we're gonna charge the beans right here. Now the coffee has been right into the drum. So now we hit the timer. The timing is very important. We have to keep the time. Time is important just because of consistency. You have to make sure the time is always accurate next time you roast the same coffee in the same profile. So we always watch our coffees from the glass called side glass. And we have also over here, one of the unique accessory of this roaster is the dryer. Dryer helps us to get the coffee's color, change of color, and you can smell it by how the aroma has been developed. We'll bring it back into the roaster. So coffee, also all about the air I was talking about earlier. Air is very important in coffee. So that's why we have to make sure our digits in the accurate spot all the time. Every day you're roasting. So we're talking about almost 4 to 5 above of the temperature change. Temperature change will happen dramatically every 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll come to that when we get that 3 minutes. So we're watching the roast together, and it's approx right around. We're probably gonna see. We're gonna do medium roast today. So the medium roast takes almost right around 11, sometimes 11 to 12 to 10 minutes. Why is there inconsistency on that matter? Just because of the coffee's density. So every coffee is different. Every coffee has a different water content. Every coffee has a different body. So it takes maybe plays around 30 seconds. But right now we're roasting this coffee. It's one of the most unique coffees in the world, as I mentioned about the pea berries. So those pea berries, how they develop? They develop as a single born species. So it's a pea berry, around, small, just like the pea, look like a pea. And this bean develops as a single born, which is very unique and contains a lot of flavor. Also, we have another seeds, is a very common, which is right here, as I'll show you right there. Grade A coffee, which is this grade A coffee born twin, comes out of twin, 2 seeds out of cherry, which is more flat. It's more right here, a little wider. And together comes a cherry. It's the more common coffee seeds. Let's call it seeds right here. So what happens why the coffee is differently developed? That wasn't unknown for a long time, but of course the technology and the centuries after, they figured that actually pea berry born single, actually no longer, because pea berry in their second month in the growing phase, the other seed swallows the other seed and become one single seed. Actually, in the roasting world, the coffee world, is known as a monster seed because it eats the other seed. And then, so there is another coffee species called, so there's 3 different coffee in the world. The one we're roasting right now is a specialty coffee, which is called Coffea Arabica. Arabica is a plant. Only coffee contains the most flavor, what you're drinking every day, or once a week, or every 2 days. That's coffee you drink is Arabica coffee. And also will contain the lesser amount of caffeine than other coffee species called Robusta. Robustas are coffee, those coffees are, let's go more durable, resistance to diseases, contains 3 times more caffeine than regular Arabica coffee plant. Although you will have no taste. So Robusta does not contain any sugar, any aroma. There is no caramelization in that coffee. The only thing you're tasting is the coffee is just like that earthy hay kind of, that's what we call it, taste. So that's why we're focused on today is the Cafe Arabica. That's why we're roasting right now. Right now, coffee entering its green to brown phase. Actually, we call this brown phase. It's a cinnamon. So coffee takes the color of the cinnamon, the green to the little bitty brownish cinnamon color. So that happens right around the 6th minute, usually. So there we go. So what happens after 6 minutes? The coffee loses a lot of gas and a lot of aroma and sugar. So the sugar escapes from the coffee and coffee start the cracks. And we call it first crack right here. When you do to the side glass, as you see, in coffee will, here you got to hear this. Coffee will start to crack as you hear it. Once the coffee cracks, that means coffee has been developed, and you got to create a profile called light roast. So light roasted coffee is once the coffee been cracked, that means you can dump this coffee, discharge it, and brew it as a light roast. So we will go a little bit forward, right around we're entering our 7th minute. And we're going to right around 371 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're gonna go to the medium roast. So we're gonna wait another 3 to 4 minutes. The coffee reaches up to the fully developed. Why it's fully developed? Most coffees are fully developed and the bitterness, just because all the profiles, the most being consumed coffee are medium roasted coffees. Almost like 70% of the world's coffee drinkers drinks medium roasted coffee. And then comes dark roast and light roast. So the medium roast coffee, just because of the coffee is in the perfection, it developed an aroma and flavor and body. A little bit of bitterness, a little bit of smooth drinking, enjoyable cup of coffee. Medium roast coffees are great. So before we discharge the coffee, we'll check the dryer again one more time and check on the color. So we, as you see right here, and smoke coming out of it. It's right there. It's almost there. So we're beginning to entering the medium roast phase, right around the 8:40, the 10th minute, maybe 11th, we're gonna dump the coffee. So when the temperature reaches up to the 420 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's exciting process right now because it's ready almost. One more time, check the dryer. Smell your coffee. It smells so good. Can't wait to try it tomorrow. I can send you some. And it's ready. So we're gonna shut the heat off. Put the airflow all the way to the chimney. And then pull the cooling lever forward. And turn on a swiffer and charging the coffee. Let's discharge the coffee. And you hear the cracking. There you are. And in this process, so this is called cooling tray. Why coffee needs to be cold and agitated? Well, what happens? Coffee still loses the sugar and in gas even right after we discharge it. If you just leave this coffee without cooling and just without agitated, coffee will no taste, nothing. There will be no taste in the coffee. It's just gonna be no taste, no aroma, not that good of cup of coffee you're thinking to drink tomorrow. So coffee has to cool down and also be agitated. Back in the days, this is all done by hands and all done by air outside. Right around coffee roasters even developed right around 18th century. And as engineering helped people discover the more aroma and more coffee varieties in the world. But that's why the cooling is most important part of the roasting. So coffee has to cool down and also has to be sit almost 3 to 5 hours to settle. Even coffee surfaces cool down when you feel it. Coffee's core still has been liquidated, so that sugar has to be totally being hardened. And before you grind your coffee, right after the roasting, has to be 3 to 5 hours. Coffee has to be settled. So we cannot grind this coffee even after it's cooled down in 10 minutes. So we have to wait till another 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. So I hope you enjoy. So this is your first time roasting coffee, I believe. If not, so there you go. This is my method. I roast coffee almost every day. Some days I take a day off. Just enjoy my coffee. But the coffee is a unique product. It's endangered species as well. Just because of the coffee grows in a very delicate environment. Water is very, very important, just like in our lives and other plants. Coffee is actually very dependent on the water and sun, but most importantly, water or of course the human activity. And how much you believe in it or don't believe in it, but global warming is a true story. It happens in every other farm in the excuse me, and tropical environment. They see a harsh way. They see the less on waters, less in rains, less on and more on the insect. And there are, of course, the labor is very important. So fight against the child labor, fight against the non-fair traded organizations. So we're fair traded coffee. Our coffee is all fair traded. We believe in equal employment opportunities, not just in the United States, but all over the other part of the world. We believe everybody, because this is not just roasting coffee and sell it here. Background is very important. There's coffee grow in the farms, but there are people who calculates and helps all year round to get this thing to our table. And it's very important. We love the farmers. Farmers are the backbone of this business. Many, many centuries. They help the coffee being delivered to all over the countries, all the developed countries in the world. So the coffee story starts from Ethiopia, and then the traders find out this coffee only grows in the tropical equatorial environment, and they took it to the Yemen. Yemen is actually located almost northeast of the Ethiopia, and then right below of the Arabic Peninsula. And Yemen, coffee grew in the Yemen almost like 3 centuries, and all the European, Western European, and the Eastern Asian countries imported coffee from Yemen. And if you guys ever heard of a mocha, mocha is a very well-known drink. And just because of Italians called the mocha pot, they used to make their coffees. They used to call espresso as a mocha, because mocha is a very critical port in Yemen. We call mocha port. All the coffee has been exported through the mocha port to the world. and that's what but the name remains the same as well. And of course, the diseases happens. All the astronomical weather events happens. The coffee plants get diminished or being hit by hurricanes or hit by diseases. So you can have the crop for almost like 10 to 15 years to regrow. So of course, the traders figured it out, scientists figured out how can we carry on this coffee, and brought a plant with their voyages to a region called the Sumatra, bringing out to the Indonesia nowadays, and a region called Sumatra. And Sumatra, that's why the coffee been actually almost 1 century ago, being exported throughout the world. And that's why everybody, very well-known name called Java, the Java Sea. And the Java Sea being labeled it and exported the world, everybody became a very well-known name as a Java. So coffee actually being called Java everywhere else, not coffee. If you believe it or not, one day we were just in Istanbul. This is just a Java. We never called it coffee. Oh, it's a Java. Let's drink it. But it's true. It's everything is unique with their region. So we growing up with the making Turkish coffee. The culture I grew up in. We never had a coffee. We never brew coffee. We cook the coffee. So we call it cooking method, but of course it's a brewing method. But we call Turkish coffee. I'll show you one, the cooking method, brewing method we do with the jezva. This is called jezva, and this is called ibriki, which is Greeks call their brewing pot as a ibriki, and Turks call the jezva is an Arabic name for it. Arabic called jezve. So the jezve, it's a unique method of the brewing coffee. Coffee is unfiltered. So we grind the coffee very fine, finer than espresso. You can only do it with the stone mill. So you just grind the coffee like a flour type, and then brew it right in here with the little stove top or a little bit of fire, campfire, whichever you got the you can brew. And we also drink it without filtration. That becomes a challenge. And that's challenge being in my culture, coffee, not to just drink and go to work, actually sit down and enjoy. So that's why the Turkish coffee is very unique. It's challenge. You just sip it and have a constant conversation. So the many centuries, the coffee shop culture, what it started right in downtown Istanbul, right around the 16th century. First coffee shop being opened. Actually, the coffee has been, of course, being considered as a drug because it gives you boost, energy, and also forbidden by the terms of being a drug by the sultans many centuries, but only being consumed by the certain people, not by the public. Of course, coffee has a lot of big cultural impact on other countries, which is Europe too. So the Europeans made the coffee, and they started brewing their own method because the unfiltered coffee is a challenge. It's not a feeling. It's just you don't want to sediment in your mouth, but it's a good experience to have. And once you drink it, you want to drink all the time. But the Europeans, of course, we come with the great methods. They discover, especially the Italians, discovered the steam, the coffee steam method, which is called moka pot, as known as a percolator. And then espresso machine being developed. And then comes the French press. And then every other other brewing methods been developed throughout the centuries and make the best way to brew the coffee. In my opinion, the best way to brew the coffee is a pour over. The pour over gives the coffee almost 80% to my 80%, almost like 30% more accurate flavor than a real drip machine. I encourage everybody to do pour over their coffees if you have a time. Life is busy, everybody have a time, everybody have a downtime. So if you have a time, pour over is the most recommended. So pour over, you just heat up the water, grind your coffee in the course, pour with the filter, and pour your coffee into your cup. So pour over helps us a better cup of coffee. Pour over helps determine the flavor, and you will understand the next coffee you drink from another farm is very different than other coffee. That's why pour over is very important. Pour over is easy to determine the flavors and brings up to a nice cup of coffee all day, every day. So we usually determine our coffees. So as I mentioned right before, how we do this coffee determination. So we have to make sure the coffee in our house and the coffee house, we make sure that our coffee has a unique taste. If you have the same taste of the coffee you have in the house, you don't want to compete. So you have to find next flavor. You have to find interesting flavor. So what happens to coffee? The same coffee you buy this year will not be the same next year. The flavor changes. As I mentioned earlier, the weather and soil's quality. The weather, as a rainy seasons are usually brings up the great harvests and different flavors of coffee. It's changed time to time. And we store almost like 18 different countries. And we have all the unique coffees from all over the world. And we buy especially the Arabica beans. We don't use any Robusta. The Arabica beans are all graded coffees by official, we call it Specialty Coffee Association. So those coffees must, if you're not roasting specialty coffee, you're not specialty coffee roaster. So the companies, which is the mega companies or more commercial companies, they use Robusta for the caffeine content because contains 30% more caffeine, which is you don't want it. Too much caffeine is not healthy. And our roasting situation, let's see, let's check it out. So right now, I'm checking my coffee. It's been nice and cooled off. So next thing is I'm looking for defects. There are a lot of things on the coffee. So one of them, see the color differences if you could, if I have enough light. I have one coffee is a little brownish, than other one is more yellow. The yellow we call a Quaker. What is Quaker? Quaker is underdeveloped bean. It's just the bean has been in the limb with the ripe beans and ripe cherries. So the Quaker is a unripe cherry, which is there is no harm in this the Quaker one, but there's no taste. If there are any more than, for example, this is a 6-pound batch. If there are any like 1 ounce of Quakers in there, it's a defect. So we have to determine, you have to take the Quakers out of the tray and put them on the side. So I was mentioning earlier, this is not only just roasting, but you have to make sure your coffee's quality is good as you're passionate. You have to make sure your coffee is in a good shape. That's because of the consistency again. We have to keep that in mind. Cherries produce the seeds, but also can harm your good batch of coffee if there are too many. So that's why pick them and put them on the side. So we call them a Quaker. And other foreign objects, coffee always is, so of course, it's shipped and transportation can be anything. Could be in a warehouse, can be get into anything. Most importantly, rocks. Sometimes little stones, it's unavoidable just because in the washing process, they sneak through right into the seed and you can't see them. And human can see them because there's 100 tons of coffees. So what happens, we call it destoner. We destone the coffee. Our chute right here contains this stoner and the rocks contains an iron. And the stoner has a magnet, helps the get the stones, but not all of them, but some of them. So again, stone in the little stones in the coffee are harmful, but not to us. But yes, it does to your grinder. So it can harm your grinder if you cut onto it. So it can break your grinder. It can just give you just your pocket, can harm your pocket. So grinder is very important. And you have to make sure there's no stones in the wood chips for the manners. You can see the husk. You can see the skin. So we have to make sure we determine all. And we have to make sure we get them out of there in the tray. So this is the last process you're doing it before you discharge, before you dump your beans into the bucket. Yes. If there are any questions.
Yeah, there's quite a number of questions in the chat now. First up, earlier you were talking about the coffee cherry fruit.
Yes.
Madeline asks, does the cherry fruit taste like coffee?
Oh, yes, it does taste like it's, you know, the coffee. Okay, there is a question. First question.
Yeah, the first question.
Thank you for it. Yeah.
Does the cherry fruit taste like coffee?
Does the cherry? Oh, actually, it does not. It does not. It's a little sour. It's just like if you ever try like little unripe cherry, like just regular cherries, a little harder, but tastes like more citrus and a little bit sweet. But it's consumable, but it's just like you said, you don't want to eat every day like other fruit items. But yes, it does not. But also one thing, that skin, cherry skin, it does contain caffeine. The whole thing does contain a caffeine, but does not like taste like coffee. Yes, and the second one.
Cool. Next question from Diane. What recommendations would you have for a light roasted, flavorful coffee that can be enjoyed all day?
So what recommendations would you have for light roasted, flavorful coffee? So, and again, so this is all about the palate. So everything is all about the palate. Like, for example, you like eating a burger, I like eating a taco. Same thing with the coffee. You like light roast, I love medium roast, somebody else like the dark roast. But again, there is a difference between the coffees. I like, in my opinion, could be other roasters' opinion, could be different. I love African coffees, the most best in their medium and light roast, because African coffees are most complex coffees in the world. They contains most of them the Tanzanian and Ethiopian coffees. They're more flavorful, more floral and sweeter coffees, like a tea-like coffees. I recommend Ethiopian coffees as the light roast coffee and flavor body as well. It will be it can have a great aftertaste. You won't disappoint it.
Cool. A
Okay,
follow,
light.
yeah, a follow-up
Yes.
question to that. Does the lighter roast have less caffeine?
Okay, so let's come back to the roasting profile. So the lighter the roast, more the caffeine. Caffeine almost 8 to 9% more caffeine than dark roast. So this way the light roast makes more caffeinated. And I'll tell you the little brief story for that. So as in a roaster, I roast every coffee, light, medium, and dark. And 1 week I drink light roast, 1 week I drink medium, and 1 week dark roast. We call it fasting. And 1 week no coffee. You deal with the caffeine headaches. Oh my God. And that makes you understand what coffee contains, what profile contains the most caffeine. So therefore, light roast is the contains because the pores not dying, they still intact, acidity remains in place, and more flavor and more sugar in place during the caramelization. That's why the caffeine in place before they burnt out when they enter their medium phase and dark phase. So the caffeine still remains more in the light roast.
Cool. And then this one was a follow-up question for the cherry fruit. Is the skin of the fruit used for anything?
They did, yes, actually. We used to make tea out of it. We call it coffee leaf tea, and with their skin. You can use the skin, you can boil it, you can have a nice cup of tea. Yep.
Cool.
And also use, it's many countries they're using as composting for next harvest. So they mix with their soil. But yes, you can, it can be consumed as a tea. You can brew it. You can make a nice smooth tea out of it. It's what we're selling at our coffee shop. We make iced tea out of it. And everyone loves it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Next question on the list. Is there a way to roast coffee at home without a big roaster?
Yes. You can roast coffee on a stovetop right on your cooking pan. Yes, that's how you roasted in the past. Like they had a flat 2 pans and the width 1 stick and 1 roller, and they used to roast right on the fire. And the house, yes, you can use your electric stove or gas stove. You just have to agitate the coffee like how the drum rolls in our roaster, right here, inside the drum. It rotates, so you have to rotate it by hand. So make sure you're cooking it unevenly. You don't have to be steady, just you have to move around your stovetop. And you'll hear but only thing is, of course, will be inconsistency on that, but that's okay. We'll just have a nice cup of batch of coffee and tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the same amount of temperature. So make sure you heated up your fan. Well, some cultures do with the butter. I recommend, sure, you can do with the butter. A little bit of butter.
All right. That relates to Madeline's second question.
Sure.
If adding sugar to coffee is the preferred method of serving.
So the sugar, it's a of course, the coffee has been consumed sugar in many centuries just because of the bitterness. Coffee is a after roasting process, we grind them and brew it. And coffee's sugar almost disappeared 80% and 90% its own. So it becomes a more taste, more bitter, and the human palate. So therefore, you want to enjoy, you put a sugar on it. So do I put sugar into my coffee? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But let's not forget,
it's not a bad thing. Coffee and sugar or cream. It's people how they people like it. So, but yes, I recommend just try it. These other special coffees, you will not need the sugar. Sugar just helps your palate, helps your brain to avoid that bitterness. But I think coffee should consume without sugar. That way you understand the coffee better and the palate, and your palate will get used to it, and your brain will be react to it, and your next coffee you drink will be more enjoyable. Takes time to not drink a coffee without sugar, but you'll see the differences when you start to drink coffee without sugar. Make an experiment. Make an experiment. Drink coffee without sugar for a week or two. See how it goes. You like it or not. But if it's very important is to determine the coffee's flavors is without sugar.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Next question's from Tracy. What's your opinion of preparing coffee by using a Chemex or French press?
Yes. Chemex. And so we drink Chemex. We love it. Right here, Chemex is less acidic just because of the filtration. So you use filter, and the oil remains less. So that way it gives you a smooth cup of coffee. The French press is, of course, a tremendous amount of flavor because you don't have a filtration. So still, you plunge it down the French press right here. This is the Chemex right here example. This filter, paper filter, unbleached paper filter can help you with acidity level. So that level help your coffee more smoother, more delightful, enjoyable. The French press is a totally different method. It's one of the oldest proven method in the modern history. And that could be a little bit acidic, but coffee has more flavor because you're also consuming the oil more than you have a Chemex. So I like it both, but I experiment, of course. I have to experiment my coffees, which suits better. I think it's all about you. You love, if you don't have an indigestion problem, yes, go with the either one of them. You can have both. You can have both, and you can determine it. One of them with filter. Other one is the filter, but not the paper filter. It's got the screen. Even the screen, you'll get some sediment. That's some people, as I've given an example of Turkish coffee, French press is the same, but lesser. That turns people off, not drinking coffee out of French press. But my recommendation, you can make it both an experimenting, and you'll decide yourself. But they brew beautiful coffees every morning, many centuries.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then next up, another question from Lisa. Do you know when the Kilimanjaro Tanzanian
Yes.
pea berry single origin will be back?
So it's back on our house. We have it. It'll be back next September. New harvest. So it's going to be 2021, 2022. So we have it in the house. We have right from 2020 October harvest, little late harvest. And of course, we had this unprecedented times, COVID year. But luckily, coffee is even growing in mountains. That's less populated areas. So it didn't have any more human activity, just the farmers and their own people around them, which is great to help the coffee growers stay away from the pandemic. But of course, the cities are more different and coffees are delayed for a while. I think this 2021, the upcoming season, which is September throughout the end of the year, coffee been harvested by some part of the countries. And probably right around October, November shipment, 2 months. Maybe November will be the new harvest will be arrive.
Cool. Great news for Lisa then.
Yes,
Uh,
Lisa.
Diane asks, how many different coffees do you offer at Blue Harbor Coffee?
So we have 18 different origins. So we're actually, what makes the origin of the country origins? But we only have 12 origins at the moment. Other origins not available, which is we also carry one of the best pea berries in the world called Papua New Guinea. So their season is just starting. They're just entering their right around now, their spring in a month. And now it's winter. Their season is coming right around now, harvesting season. They will be available by September. And we don't have any Nicaragua lots. We have all over the world, but as I said, we work with the fair trade micro lots. It's a boutique farms, small family-owned farms or plantations, and they produces not so much coffee like some. That's why the coffees are very important to us to get it ahead of time. But we do usually have 18 different origins.
Cool. Next question from Vipul. What is a pea berry? Could you explain that real quick again for
Yes,
them?
the pea berry is they call it, it's a seed. It's a coffee cherry seed. Pea berry is a rounded, small in the diameter. It's a coffee seed. Just because of the call it pea berry, because look like the pea berry. Just the peas right here. The seeds shaped like a pea.
Cool. Thank you for holding it up again as well.
Right here.
Tracy.
Yep.
All right.
Because of the shape and look.
Cool. Tracy asks, what is nitro coffee?
So it's a pressured coffee, which is nitro coffee it's been pressured. So we grind the coffee, we steep it to the cold brew, and then we put them on the kegs and get the nitro keg, the nitro pressure tank, CTO, and then you brew your coffee. So what happens, it pressurize the coffee and becomes of the intensity of the bubbles and makes coffee like a bubbly, beery kind of taste, like more like a soda taste. That's what it is. So nitro, like a nitro cold brew is very common right now. It's summertime, but nothing more than a pressurized drink.
Cool. She says it's as delicious as iced coffee. And then my colleague Jody dropped in the chat a survey. If you could please fill that out, that's great. And then we have one last question for you. Do you think the lowered pollution during the pandemic will favorably impact coffee beans harvested from that growth?
Those are the big hopes. We hope so. But the pollution is not a 1-year event. It may take maybe many years to overcome it. So it will help, of course, a little bit of help. Everything helps, but eventually we need more time.
All right. Thank you so much. This was
You're welcome.
an incredible talk. Loved hearing about the process and history too.
Yes,
and
coffee.
Multifaceted talk. It was incredible. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh and
Thank
Stephanie,
you,
for the talk today with Blue Harbor Coffee. It was, like Fufi said, like so educational and such a beautiful talk.
Thank you.
And just so enjoyable. Thank you so much for
I appreciate it for the time.
And yeah,
thank you
so much.
I hope to see everybody here one day if you could.
Excellent.
We'll roast again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.